Mercedes since 2014 has had the most successful team, with them all working well to come together and dominate each season for 8 years. Everyone was working towards the exact same goal, from the people working back at the factory to the engineers at the track. Until 2022, they had the same people in and around the team helping them dominate the sport. But in the past year or so, things have changed around Mercedes. They have had several people working for the team leave and join rivals in Red Bull, for example. Toto said he had to let go of many employees due to the cost cap, which resulted in them taking their expertise elsewhere. But some people have straight up just left of their own accord and joined other teams on the grid for reasons that we do not know. In today's video, we are going to talk about Mercedes in recent years, how Red Bull took some of their employees, and of course the reason why you clicked on this video, how the feeling around Mercedes is tense with Vowles' departure to Williams. Let's get right into it. Before we get into the news of a key Mercedes member leaving for a much bigger role, we're going to talk a little bit about Mercedes and in the past few years for the team. After the COVID-19 break for the shortened 2020 season, it was fair to say that the W11 was one of the best racing cars that we have ever seen in the sport. The amount of grip that that car had allowed Lewis Hamilton to cruise to his record-breaking 7th world champion, whilst he broke Michael Schumacher's record of 91 wins. This year was almost perfect from top to bottom, except for what happened with George Russell in the car. The team once again won both the Drivers' and Constructors' Championships, with nobody else getting close to them. With 2021 being the final year of the regulations that brought Mercedes this dominance, they hope to repeat the 2022 before they go into the new era of the sport. However, 2021 would be a far walk in the park, and for the first time in the turbo hybrid era, Mercedes would have a title fight on their hands until the very end of the season. This team, of course, would be Red Bull, and Max Verstappen would go head to head with Lewis Hamilton until the very last lap of the very last race. We're not going to talk about how very controversial ending to the season, as you've probably already heard about it many times, but this was the first time since 2014 that Mercedes did not do the double in the championships. So it was not the best end, you could say, to all the dominance they had for 8 years. But they still did win 7 Drivers' Championships and all 8 of the available Constructors' Championships. Even though 2021 was disappointing for the team's standards, they hoped they could enter the 2022 regulations with a bang and have a great comeback. However, as you already probably know, this was far from the case. They only achieved 1 race win all season and fell to P3 in the Constructors' Championship, as they just got the new regulations wrong. It was a huge fall from grace, where at one point in the season, it was a good achievement to get into Q3, which was also so disappointing for the team. This season could have easily caused some of their employees to look elsewhere, like Red Bull, who had one of the most dominant seasons in the history of the sport. What do you think of Mercedes in the past 3 years? Have they just got worse and worse, which has caused people to leave the team? Let us know what you think in the comments below. As we touched on, some of the Mercedes employees decided to jump ship before the start of the 2022. As we know, Mercedes make their own engines for the cars, but also for other teams like Aston Martin and McLaren. The team have 2 different factories, with one based on the engine only and one which is the main factory, which is there to develop the car and other operational purposes. One of the main reasons why Mercedes were able to dominate for so long was because of the power of the engines that they had in the back of their cars. At the start of the 2022 season, Red Bull announced that they will be moving to the Red Bull powertrains, and they were going to take control of their engines instead of Honda, as they had left the sport. Ford is to come in and replace the Red Bull powertrains in 2026, but until then, Red Bull will have to control the engine. A lot of Mercedes employees decided to join the Red Bull powertrains for 2022, and many people are putting this being a crucial reason in why Mercedes had such a poor engine last year. The Mercedes engine had a very poor straight line speed, which resulted in them not being able to overtake cars as easily as they did in previous season. Losing employees who work for the team for years is hard enough, but to lose them to your rivals for the whole of 2021 must be very annoying for the Silver Arrows. Just imagine in your work that you lose key employees and they all go and work and join your competitors. You'll be very annoyed and your performance will be more than likely drop. Overall, it is very fair to say that Mercedes were hurt by people leaving for Red Bull, and it was shown in their comparative performances between both the teams. Guess we'll have to wait and see if Mercedes are able to improve the performance of their engines for 2023. On to the reason in why you probably clicked this video, and that of course is how the feeling around Mercedes is tense with James Vowles' departure. Due to Matteo Binotto leaving Ferrari at the end of the 2022 season, it kind of caused a silly season with all of the team principals. We saw people switch from team to team, and even some team principals just leave the sport, like in the case of Matteo Binotto. But the move that surprised a lot of us on the grid was James Vowles joining Williams to become their team principal for 2023 onwards. James was a strategist at Mercedes, and you probably know him speaking over the team radio saying the famous words, "Valtteri, it's James." He would give the bad news to Bottas that he was going to have to give up on his position to Lewis Hamilton, which happened on several different occasions. Toto Wolff was someone who had some words on the matter, with him saying it came as quite a surprise. So it was something that they had no idea of, and James just left the team when Williams came calling, and he didn't have plans to leave until this great opportunity came up. To take a team principal role is something that does not come around often at all, and with all the money that was probably offered, you could kind of understand why Vowles took this move on. Now, Williams was the slowest team on the grid in 2022 compared to Mercedes, who finished in P3, so it is a big step down. So it will cause a lot of frustration to Toto, who has now lost another key member of his team. It will also be very annoying to lose such a key person who has been in the team even before Mercedes took over Brawn in 2010. Toto, however, said he will not be replacing James. We have 9 people, some very senior, that are not always on the front line, and some that have grown within the organisation. So this is hinting that they have plenty of people who are ready to take this role, but will they be able to do the same job that James did for all of those years? I guess we'll have to find out once we get deep into the 2023 season. However, Toto has come out and denied any rumours that this departure has made the feeling around the team tense by saying, "I am very comfortable in the structure going forward, and it's not that suddenly a big weakness that has been created." Toto knows what he is doing after all these years, and he believes that he has the right people in the job to take over the gap that James has now left now that he is at Williams. Even though there has been a lot of talk around Mercedes as we head towards the start of the season, Toto seems very confident with his team. Will Mercedes be back at the top, or will all these departures hurt them? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching this video, and make sure that you like the video and subscribe to watch more videos just like this one.